Margaret. I'm with the Coalition for Justice, and thank you for coming. And I first want to thank VAPOC, Virginia Prisoner of Conscience, because they might be in prison, but they're here with us, right? They're here. We got them here, right? So thank you, VAPOC. I also want to thank everybody who endorsed, everyone who shared, everyone who chose to speak, and everyone who has prisoners in their thoughts today, because they are often not heard, not seen, and rendered invisible. So this is fantastic. I just also want to say that you can also read statements from the prisoners. We have them hanging up in the information tent, and let's lift their voices and take a look, okay? Thank you. The other thing is, I want to thank the family members of all prisoners who came here today, because too often their loved ones are separated by such long distances. Prisoners are in isolated rural areas, and oftentimes families don't even have opportunities to see them. And so today we are all together sharing our strength and our love to the families of prisoners. I want to thank the Coalition for Justice and Defenders for Freedom, Justice, and Equality, because we partnered to facilitate this rally, and thank them for their continued work to end mass incarceration. As I said, this rally was conceived by VAPOC members of the Virginia Prisoner of Conscience, and what they do is they organize prisoners. So they show them that they have worth, that they are valued, that their voices are heard, and they show us that by working together, both from the inside and the outside, we can create much needed overdue change in Virginia. The Coalition for Justice is honored to sponsor VAPOC, and we post their stories and ideas on our website, and they have a website as well. This in itself, just to read the words of prisoners, is an act of living resistance, and we really honor that. The goal of the rally is to form a statewide network, organizations, groups, family members, and prisoners, because together, collectively, it's going to take all of us, all of our voices, to create change in Virginia. So connecting everyone is a very important part of this rally. So thank you for coming.
We do want to call our first speaker up. That's going to be, it's a statement from Jerry Mendoza. It will be read by Aileen Rivera. Now, this statement is in Spanish. Mr. Mendoza is an incarcerated individual from Augusta Corrections Center, and he's addressed this in Spanish first, and then we'll read it over in English afterwards.
Hola, hermanos y hermanas de la comunidad hispana de parte de los prisioneros de Augusta Correctional Center en el estado de Virginia. Sabemos que hemos cometido errores en el pasado para llegar a estos extremos. Hemos pasado mucho tiempo arrepentidos de nuestras malas decisiones y estamos pagando por esos errores. Sin embargo, seguimos siendo humanos y merecemos ser tratados como seres humanos con oportunidades, igualdad y derechos, algo que por tiempo no ha estado pasando por falta de educación y entrenamiento de los prisioneros y la comunidad por igual. Pedimos humildemente que vayan los que puedan y a los que están hagan disponible a la marcha el 20 de enero en Richmond, Virginia, para apoyar no solo a los prisioneros hispanos, pero a todos sufriendo de las injusticias en el sistema de prisión en Virginia. Ejemplos de servicios insuficientes que no nos proveen son clases en inglés o español de primaria y secundaria, llamadas internacionales, solo 3 al año, para nombrar algunas cosas. Les agradecemos con mucha estima y cariño mientras esperamos poder ser liberados para ser ciudadanos productivos a nuestras familias, comunidades y países. Gracias y Dios los bendiga. Jerry Mendoza Villata, Augusta Correctional Center. Greetings, brothers and sisters of the Hispanic community from the prisoners of the Augusta Correctional Center in the state of Virginia. We know that we have made mistakes in the past that brought us to these extremes. We have spent a lot of time in deep regret and remorse for our bad decisions and paying for our mistakes. Nevertheless, we are still humans and deserve to be treated as human beings with opportunities, equality, and rights. These are things that have not been happening for a long time due to lack of education and training for both prisoners and the communities equally. We humbly ask everyone that is able to attend the rally on Saturday, January 20th in Richmond, Virginia, to come support not just the Hispanic prisoners, but anyone who has suffered from the injustices of the Virginia prison system. Some examples of insufficient services that are not provided: elementary and middle school grade classes in English or Spanish, international calls, we only get 3 per year, to name a few things. We appreciate and are very grateful for your support while we await to be free to become productive citizens for our families, communities, and our country. Thank you, and God bless you all. Jerry Mendoza Villada, Augusta Correctional Center inmate.
Shabazz come up so that we can have him read a statement from his brother, Hassan, a member of the Virginia Prisoner of Conscience, while he himself is the founder and director of Affirm Foundation Incorporated. You got the letter. Have you?
All right, greetings everyone. This is from my brother Hassan Shabazz in Augusta Correctional Center. He says, peace and justice to the unified family. We have come here today in a show of solidarity toward the goal of ending mass incarceration in Virginia. Mass incarceration affects us all regardless of our race, gender, nationality, religion, or sexual preference. Thus, the struggle for prison reform is now being recognized as a struggle for the most basic human rights. The rights to life and liberty are being denied to many through the implementation of draconian laws and policies which have left you, the taxpayer, footing the billion-dollar bill. Many ask the questions, what is prison reform? What does it look like? And what part do I play? Well, prison reform denotes a change in the laws and policies that govern corrections, but this is not all. Reform also means that the minds of those within the system have to be transformed in a manner that enables them to benefit from the changes in the laws and policies that we seek. Okay, can everyone hear me? All right. In short, prisoners also have to be held accountable for doing their part. And this is where you, the family and community, come in. For 20 years, I have watched the Department of Corrections change for the worst. The mentality of those behind the walls now reflect products of a broken system. They have fully assimilated into the idea that a culture of poverty and ignorance is acceptable. They have fallen into a state of nihilism and depression that is unrivaled. This must change, and you can help bring about this change. The days of an older prisoner taking the younger under his wing to educate him are long gone. Policies have been put in practice to make it hard for conscious prisoners to change the mentality of the population around us. We cannot hold a forum, call a meeting, or gather together to discuss our issues without fear of reprisal. The administration has literally tied our hands to keep us from awakening those around us. Those policies and barriers have to be removed. But in the meantime, we have to try something new. You must hold your loved ones behind bars to a higher standard. Do not cater to a culture of ignorance. You send them money for commissary, music, games, phone calls to show your love, but this only pacifies them. Allowing them to cope with their incarceration without prompting them to become involved in changing their condition. Help us by withholding your gifts until they show themselves worthy of them. Reward them when they obtain their GED, get a trade, or read a new book. Push them towards positivity. You can easily assist in prison reform in this way. We have to make it cool to be conscious. We have to make it cool to be a conscious member of the movement towards reform, and shame those in prison when they have nothing intelligent or productive to offer in the way of understanding their condition. Eventually, they will seek out those who can enlighten them about their role in the struggle to end mass incarceration. This will change the culture in prison and produce the type of men and women that you can be proud of. So from this day forward, let us be unified in our efforts to change this oppressive system, for truthfully, we are stronger together. Let us remember that mass incarceration affects us all, so we should all be involved in bringing it to an end. Thank you for lending me your ears and hearts. In solidarity, Hassan Shabazz. And I'm a former offender, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. And my personal testimony, I'm gonna be brief, is that after years of addiction and going in and out of jail, I turned my life around. Went back to school, got a double major in psychology and sociology, and I'm getting my master's degree. It was in mental health counseling until I started running into roadblocks, dealing with barrier crimes that prevent people from working in the human service field if they have a felony. My felony was 27 years ago, the one that's stopping me. I was working as a crisis specialist, and they told me that I could no longer hold that position once my background came back. And the crime that stopped me from working in that profession was 27 years old, a burglary charge from 27 years ago. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, let alone 27 years ago. Yeah. So we have to do something about the collateral consequences that face former offenders. And like my brother Hassan was saying, there has to be accountability and responsibility on the inmates and former offenders to make the necessary changes. But when we make those necessary changes, we should not be hindered by barrier crimes and the collateral consequences that stop us from true equal opportunity and true freedom, justice, and equality. So we have an uphill battle, but we can get it done. It's about we the people. We cannot wait for politicians to do it for us. We got to hold them accountable. I respect Governor McAuliffe for taking a stance on prison reform and the new Governor Northam. But if they're going to run on that campaign, we got to hold them accountable for following through once they've been elected. So let us come together. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I don't even know how I'm going to follow that one up, I'll be honest with you. But I do have a statement to read from Russell Imperial Banks from Red Onion State Prison. On behalf of myself and the voiceless many, we greet you all in peace and solidarity, and thank you beyond measure for your dedication to justice and this movement at hand. My name is Russell Imperial Banks, a prisoner here at Red Onion State Prison. I am an example of this greatly broken justice system that has replaced justice and rehabilitative practices with punitive practices which appear to be seen as the means for rehabilitation. I have been incarcerated for nearly 2 decades for a crime of armed robbery that I did not commit. I have been held captive since the age of 19, and I am now 38. But the scary thing is that I am not alone, which speaks to the fact that a conviction is the main objective rather than justice. This cycle has become a systematic culture. Our youth and our elderly are being warehoused in these prisons with sentences that exceed the time that they've been on this earth. In the state of Virginia and abroad, we are witnessing hyper-mass incarceration. Specifically, those who are suffering from this systematic genocide is people of color. There is no country that incarcerates more of its ethnic minorities than America. In the state of Virginia, just over 90% of the prison population is male, and of that percentage, black males between the ages of 18 to 40 make up over 60%. Then internally behind these walls, according to my nearly 20-year observation, there are practices by most prison personnel that is counterproductive and does not in any fashion aid one in the process toward becoming a productive citizen so as to make positive contributions within society, but rather assists in the development of normalizing dysfunctional thinking and behaviors, and the personnel and positions that require them to assess our strengths and weaknesses and establish treatment plans. Truth be told, most of them could care less. The insensitivity and deliberate indifference at times is so astounding to me. Furthermore, the results of these practices increase the probability of recidivism greatly, and this is just the psychological abuse. I and countless others have had to endure physical abuse as well at the hands of prison personnel. The frightening reality to me is that you, the public will in some cases inherit the dysfunctions that these practices produce in some of the men and women returning home. What this reveals is our commonality and connectedness in this struggle of addressing the countless dysfunctions and injustices that exist in the operations of our so-called justice system. Our collective efforts will be needed in and out of these penal systems, and if any of you have family and friends behind these walls, trust me when I say they need you on every level that constitutes humanity. With that, I hope I have managed to engrave the desire to engage for freedom, justice, and equality in your hearts a little deeper. Peace and solidarity. Russell and the Voiceless Many.
He's in Augusta Correctional in Craigsville, Virginia, and he's a part of the Virginia POC. So I want to read his letter. Our goal for the rally today is to communicate to lawmakers right here where you are standing to reform the Virginia prison system. This means that we have to explore the question of what exactly do we want reform. Do we want the state to stop using $1 billion of taxpayers' money to mass incarcerate people? Does it mean we want the state to end racial disparity in conviction, sentencing, and length of stay in prison? Does it mean we want to end truth in sentencing policies that could actually hide the truth about the expensive, unfair, and excessive system that is created? How about the fact that the visitation policies are dehumanizing for both the prisoner and the visitor? What about the mail policy and the cruelty imposed on both the receiver and the sender when pictures, cards, and letters are photocopied? Is this the prison reform that we're asking for? Or how about asking that prisons stop being closed down in the eastern region where blacks work and where most of prisoners are from, while new prisons are then open in the western region where whites work and that are too far away for our families to visit? There's a lot to be reformed in this state prison system because we have allowed those who benefit from this system to continue to stack the deck against us. Private companies like Global Tail Link, JPay, and Keith have sucked money from prisoners' families who in most cases are struggling to make ends meet. Yet these companies know that the love you have for your incarcerated loved one will cause you to give their last dime to see their hardship. Meanwhile, the Virginia Department of Corrections produces prisons environments that are so depressing that prisoners would do damn near anything to cope, even turn to drugs. At the same time, this is happening. Prisoners are also working their ass off to keep the prisons open and help the state produce profits for pennies on the dollar. Yet when we attempt to organize around our labor in any way, they call it a group demonstration, put us in solitary confinement, then transfer us to one of their super maximum security prisons, all of which cost over $100 million to build a $10 million a year to keep open. And they don't need them. So what the lawmakers are telling us when they do these things is that we will expand the prison system but won't expand Medicaid. The state will produce state-of-the-art prisons while Richmond and Tidewater schools crumble. And Amelia County schools close on Fridays due to lack of funding. Why does Virginia need 45 prisons? Why does Virginia need 66 jails? Why does Virginia spend $1 billion a year to mass incarcerate people? They don't need to do it. I have been in the system for 20 years. I was arrested when I was 18 years old, and now I'm 38 years old. I can tell all of you that I am definitely not a threat to your safety. I am reformed. They can let me go, but they won't let me go. In fact, I'm not scheduled to be let go until 2044. That's 26 more years at $27,000 a year, keeping me locked up for what? I'm not a threat to public safety. The 18-year-old version of me died a long time ago. I'm almost 40 years old, and yet they won't let me out until I'm 60, when I actually will be a burden on the public because I won't have any property I won't have any money, and I won't be employable. And I may not have any family to go home to. So who's really benefiting from this system? Because obviously the system is broken for some and not broken for others. Why else would they fight so hard to keep it open? This is why we are out here today, you in body and us in spirit. We are here to say enough is enough and to begin to do the work of changing this broken system, which is where we must go from here. We must begin to organize and network with one another in many different ways. We need family support groups, call teams to hold prisons wardens accountable to the injustices perpetrated on prisoners by their staff, fundraising committees to help with legal calls for complaints filed by prisoners to protect prisoners' rights, to help Hispanic brothers and sisters communicate with their families, to help incarcerated parents get more access to their children. We need to demand that state and local officials change laws and policies that are abusive and expensive. Most importantly, they need to know that criminal justice reform means ending mass incarceration. Virginia is a new Jim Crow state that punishes blacks harsher, and so the truth in sentencing has a disproportionate impact on minority communities. We must demand that these lawmakers reinstate parole so that those who deserve a chance to go back to their communities can get there. We also must let Ralph Northam and the Democratic Party know that we are disappointed with the fact that nearly 70% of those in Virginia's prison system were sentenced outside of their sentencing guidelines, yet the governor only pardoned 6 due to, quote, extensive sentencing. What about the other 25,000 of us who were given extensive sentences? Do we deserve justice? So we have to organize. We also have to network. We must share contact information with one another, Facebook pages, website, Twitter pages, Instagram pages, email addresses, and phone numbers, and reach out to one another because we can't do anything alone. But if we come together, we can take down this miserable system. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from RIHD. Okay. Sorry, you got your name, brother?
Yes, Brother Darrell X. Yes, I want to send a greeting to you from our founder, Miss Lily Branch Kennedy. She couldn't be here today, but she wished she could have, but she has a family emergency that she had to address. Okay, now, as we're saying, in 1995, the legislature decided to do away with parole. Okay, from 95 to 2000, they were not telling the juries that parole had been abolished. So therefore, even people that are in corrections and stuff have agreed that this should have been done. And then when Fishback filed this case in 2000, it was ruled that they should have been telling people that parole had been abolished. Now, all our bills that went up this year have already been before the board. They've been heard and they have been turned down. So right now, it's not too much that we can do, but try to fight for something else. But one of the things that see is there are 3 remedies that will resolve this issue, plain and simple. They either can give those from 95 to 2000 parole, all right, okay. They can give them a new hearing and a new sentencing phase, okay. And either they can take and allow the prosecutor to come to agreement with the defendant if he accepts a lesser plea for a lesser time. Okay. Now, they have chosen not to do that. Now, what we have to do is let these people know that if you're not doing the job that we want you to do, because this is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. They work for us. We don't have to wait for them to do what we want them to do. Now, I campaigned this last election, and you see our vote count. In my district from Newport News, it came down to 1 vote. Shelley Simmons, 1 vote. So that lets you know that your vote does count. Amen. So if we go and all these people, Senator Sturtevant, Obashan, Creighton, all those ones that chose not to vote for it, then take their job. Do a Trump move on them. Say, you fired. See, and like I say, we sent a strong message to Trump because they just knew they was going to take Virginia. But I mean, I was out there day and night. I stood on the election day, I stood on the poll from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 in the evening, 12 hours for free, because I was not going to let this man get into office. Because now we know that our votes matter. See, and that's what I'm saying. I'm formerly incarcerated. And McCullough gave me a flavor. I never voted in my life until 2016. But like I say, all you have to do is vote.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Can we also get Ariel Golden? Is Ariel here today? She make it out? There she is. Ariel's from Together We Will RVA.
And this is Brittany, also from Together We Will RVA. Start us off.
Hi, sorry. Like Ariel said, we are with Together We Will RVA. And if you can't hear me, just let me know and I'll try to speak up for y'all. I'm sorry. Our group, our mission is to uplift marginalized voices and marginalized communities, as well as educate those who don't come from those communities and don't have that background as to the problems that are happening. Prison reform is important to us because we know that it affects more than just the Black community. We know that it affects more than just Virginia. We know that it affects the entire world. All of us have heard the quote, all of us have heard the statistics about the U.S. only being 5% of the global population, but housing 25% of prisoners for the world. That's ridiculous. It's understanding that felony incarceration, it's not just a matter of prison reform, it's a matter of reforming the way that society has taught us to think about these people. We've decided that they're inhuman, that they're deserving of these punishments, deserving of these sentences, regardless of what they've done. We have one of the lowest felony thresholds in the entire country. And when I say that, I mean Florida, which is, Florida has a $300 felony threshold. Virginia has $200. You can go and be a felon for stealing a pair of Jordans. You can take this jacket off my back right now and you're a felon. It's ridiculous what we're doing to people, and we are purposely pushing them into a system that does not care, that is not about rehabilitation, that is all about making money and corporate greed. We are not here to stand for this. We're not going to allow this to continue, and we need to make sure that it's not just a rally we go to. It's not just Facebook pages that we like. It's that every day we get out and we say something, that we say if these people do matter, when they come out, they still will matter, and when they go in, they matter.
Thank you. Thank Virginia Prisoners Wisconsin and RHD and the great work they did. They just spoke. And yes, I think that was our 2 minutes, but yes, just wanted to thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for speaking. That was incredible. Again and again. And I do want to make sure too, we only got the grounds for a little bit, but we will make sure that we get as many people heard as possible. We're going to keep it to as 2 minutes, as short as we can, 2-minute speaking times, but we will keep it going. We will have everybody, if you don't get the opportunity to speak up and talk out, we want to get your story. We're going to have you over by the tents and sign up so we can have you actually say your story if you if you are not able to speak at the open mic session later on. So we will hear from everybody. We will reach out and hear from everybody. We do want to move quickly too. We have a member from the NAACP that would like to speak really quickly. Thank you, man. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Come on, we can do better than that. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna take you back to church. Okay, it's a call and response that we're gonna do. Okay. Repeat after me. Say, I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. United we stand. Divided we fall. Now give yourself a hand. Now, you all, we are here for a very momentous occasion, and the buck cannot stop here. It is time for Virginia, the legislative officials, to answer up. It's time for prison reform. Right. It's time for us to reform these sentencing guidelines and hold these people to the fire. Election time during a presidential election is not all we can be adamant about. Right. We have to vote in those secondary, those global elections, we have to get up and do something. We can't just sit around and wait for someone else to institute change. We have to be the change. Everybody say, we have to be the change.
We have to change.
Come on, we have to be the change.
We have to change.
And exactly, I'm telling you firsthand, because I myself am going through a situation with my brother. He's serving a 76-year sentence. 76, and he was 19 when he went in. 76 years. I mean, he's gonna die by the time he gets out. The average lifespan of an African-American male is 77 years. And he's serving a 76-year sentence. His children already got older. So with that being said, we have murderers. I don't know if you follow the news. The young lady who killed her son and put him in the trunk and drove him around, she only got 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So this shows you that our system is broken. We have to do more, and it starts now. I need you. Let's get in this fight together. Thank you.
In the fight together. That's the important part. Max, I believe you wanted to come down really quickly so you could say something, piggyback off of what he was just saying.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. This is just interesting. My name is Matt Calloway. They didn't know what to represent me as. I'm coming here as for a friend who's incarcerated. His name is Jerry Gwynn. But he's one of those cases where as though he came from a two-parent home. But because of guys like myself that didn't come from a two-parent home, this is how this plays out into everybody's home. So this is the mentality that you hear in the letters, and you would say it's so studious and it's so heartfelt. And you're listening to these men and they're telling you they're coming from decades and decades of incarceration. And they're watching the system change and change and change. I drove down here from D.C., Maryland, to represent Danville. Maryland, you from Maryland too? Okay. But I'm from Danville. I began my incarceration when I was 10 years old. The brother said something. I didn't get a new car until I was 38. I never got a car note.
1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. Until I was 38. So it's a crucial component about this. I had to leave the state of Virginia in order to find normalcy where nobody knew me because of these laws. Because my reputation was tarnished at 10. So there's a relation, and I see a lot of men here that's here today, but we're not even shaking hands, brothers. Because we're the ones that have to speak it into existence to our fellow friends. So I think it's imperative before we leave today. This is a great thing coming together on a Saturday. But if you notice, we right here by the Supreme Court. So our next meeting gonna be on the steps of that.
Yeah.
So they can really see us.
Yeah.
During their business hours.
Yeah.
That's when we will be felt and heard.
Like November.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's what's gonna make the difference.
Yeah.
On behalf of Angela Davis's Black Girl Coalition.
All right.
About a year ago, I had the unforgettable opportunity to...
Back up.
About a year ago, I had the unforgettable opportunity to meet Angela Davis. Okay. To meet Angela Davis, and we met at a film festival where I was volunteering as a youth ambassador. And the film festival is a black film festival that prides itself in celebrating cinematic arts through a global black narrative. And after studying philosophy in Europe and seeing coverage of Black Panthers carrying guns and protecting and policing their communities in America, she moved back to America to join the Black Panther Party. It was during this time that she became involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which ultimately fell apart due to sexism and misogynoir within the ranks. And so soon after, she was hired by UCLA to teach philosophy as an assistant professor. And while she was popular among many students, Ronald Reagan, who was governor at the time, urged the school's administration to push her out of school. And her involvement with the prison abolitionist movement began with a campaign for, 1 minute. Yes. So her activism inspired me to create a coalition that will help black girls from being pushed out where the most school to prison pipelines happen in America, in Virginia. And we live
live in a culture where many black women and girls like Brescia Meadows and Centoria Brown are left out of the conversation, even though we have our prison system fail black girls. So we want to make mindfulness accessible as possible to black girls in marginalized communities because they literally profit off of it. And our coalition is also heavily influenced by Kimberly Crenshaw's theory of intersectionality and black feminism. And the By They Say Her Name movement, which directs attention to how black women and girls are disproportionately targeted, exploited, and abused by the criminal justice system. And in doing so, we want to change the narrative around the conversation around the school-to-prison pipeline and mass incarceration as modern slavery methods.
Thank you. All right.
A champion of prisoners' rights, Rastafari. And so I hand over the mic to Janet Queen and Zinga Taylor.
All right.
Thank you. My brethren on the federal plantation in Atlanta gave me that name about 15, 17 years ago. So I'm going to start by saying to the Stellan family, I bring you greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie Jah, Rastafari, ever living, ever faithful, ever sure. And I'm speaking to you today on behalf of my Idrin, Ras Kojo, if he's here, Ras Talawa, and all the other Rasta, and all of those who practice what VDOC call non-traditional religions. Although I'm active in many other areas, I found myself really consumed with that because I've been on the path to Rasta for over 37 years. No regrets, no regrets. I became more involved with prison and criminal justice reform in November 1999, about a month before that insidious DOP 864, the grooming policy, went into effect. I wrote one letter to one Idrin, and the floodgates were opened. I can tell you that everything, if you remember that far back, I can tell you everything that Larry Traylor, who was the VDOC spokesman at that time, Rasta wasn't being treated any differently than any other inmate in administrative segregation, was a complete lie. It was a lie. So that a teacher don't believe everything you hear or everything you read. For several years, those inmates who defied the policy weren't allowed visitation, commissary, or any other privileges, phone calls. All their good time was wiped away. All of their good time. Those who were previously parole eligible weren't even called for hearings because one of the requirements is that you must be in good standing with the institution. So that became our catch-22. And if you have not read that book, you need to read it. Catch-22. Members of very, very good organizations which have championed this cause. And I cannot forget all of my Idrin and Sistren who are still in the belly of the beast. Even George Bush, the incorrect potato speller, and C. Student, who became president, declared that everyone deserves a second chance. So I say to you, as Ross Zulu told me many, many years ago, if you ain't making somebody mad, you ain't doing it right.
Thank you, Queen Doss. She wants to say a wrongfully incarcerated individual from Norfolk, Virginia.
Yes, I came all the way from Norfolk, Virginia. How you guys? All right. I'm going to read this letter that he actually wrote himself by email. It starts off with, the killer has recanted numerous of times by letter written to me by affidavits given to my attorney at the time Andrew Stallings and the stand in the adversary hearing for actual innocence October 17, 2006, that Jermaine Doss, the one that wrote the letter, was convicted for a crime of first-degree murder when in fact he was never charged with such crimes, but was only charged with capital murder for hire, but was acquitted of the crime that was allowed to be found guilty by jury of first-degree murder with a judge over objection by the February 2000 trial. The attorney, which it was Chris Brown and Michael Hopley, the trial judge, decided to give an unlawfully jury instructions based on the Virginia law of first-degree murder as a lesser included offense, which the fact under the Virginia law is not a lesser included offense as stated. Multiple case law, Clark versus the Commonwealth and Harry versus the Commonwealth, both of capital murder of Howe, that clearly stated that a prison charge with such a crime of capital murder for hire is either guilty of innocent of the crime murder. Okay, and this is what he wanted you to say, okay? That indicated by the ex-Norfolk detective Glenn Floyd, who is now serving a 12-and-a-half sentence for a system of corruption and threatening witness. And this is something I really want you to hear, okay? And that since Jermaine Doss was convicted of non-capital offense, he would qualify for a bill if it is passed. For the bill is called 100. And this is what I have to say. My name is Henrietta Trotter, Elder Rich Henrietta Trotter. I'm also off Henrietta Trotter. Google me, Henrietta Trotter. The judge allowed the killer to be set free. I was at the appeal hearing. I took off from work that day. Okay, the killer took his statement back and said Mr. Doss did nothing wrong. He did not do any killing, but he did it. But the judge still did not care. The unjust judge still did not care.
Thank you. We're going to have the full text of that email that was sent by Jermaine Doss. We will send it up. We'll have it posted on the rally website so everyone can see it and read it in its entirety. We're going to make sure that that voice is heard. We do want to move to Kimberly Snodgrass as well. Kimberly, you still out there? Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Okay, I can do this. All right, first of all, give yourself a hand. We have come out here in numbers in this beautiful day. After all these speeches, there's no way I could stick the script. I heard someone say about the two-parent home. Well, I want you to know I'm here for my son, Kevin Snodgrass Jr., because he comes from a two-parent home. In fact, my husband is here behind me right here, and come Monday, we will be married. How many years? I'm sorry, 38 years. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's a two-parent home. Single-parent homes and all homes are also good homes. My son is Kevin Dwayne Snodgrass Jr. He's wrongfully incarcerated, recently released from solitary confinement, Red Onion State Cage. Amen. And I want to be specific about why I'm here. I'm also here as a board member of Interfaith Action for Human Rights, which is serving throughout the metropolitan area, serving against solitary confinement. Oh, thank you. The other thing I want you guys to know is I want 3 specific points that I want you guys to really understand, because what we're doing, we're stepping on in faith, stepping outside. I'm doing a little remixing of MLK for you. But I want you guys to know that we have many organizations in Virginia. Let's make a promise to not put up another organization. Let's make a promise to donate, support the current organizations. We're not moving out of mama house and daddy house. We don't need multiple houses for the same cause. Justice reform is justice reform. And the only way we're going to keep these organizations up is that you support them and you donate it into my African American community. The days are gone for other people to go get our children. We have to go get our own children. I thank all
Caucasian, Jewish, and other people who come out to help us. But you cannot talk for my child better than me. And when we go vote, let's hold the old guard and the newly elected accountable for those votes. I'm going to be nice today because the Queen took care of him. And I'm not going to drop any names. But you will see me. And when they go low, I'm going to. Okay? I'm going to trump that. Okay? It is time that they come forth and be held accountable. We can't blame this situation on Trump.
Amen. That's right. It's been going on.
Don't get it twisted. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up because I want all families to take it. So I'll see you guys soon. All right, Google me. I'm just going to pass the mic real quick. Somebody do me a big favor.
Real quick, my name is Richard Walker.
My name is Richard Walker. I'm the founder and president of 501c3 nonprofit Bridging the Gap in Virginia. We've been in existence since 2009. I am in the prisons throughout the entire state of Virginia. I go to parole board hearings for individuals. I fight the fight. Along with RIHD, we created the Mobile Justice Tour. We went throughout the entire state promoting the justices that need to be redone in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The reasons for crime, the reasons for substance abuse, the reasons for social issues, the reasons for mental health issues is a direct result of the legislation of the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of these laws that are in place since 1902 are still exist in 2018. There is something intrinsically wrong with that. It is, as far as I'm concerned, every legislature in there that has allowed this Constitution to be imminent throughout this century, they have committed crimes of moral turpitude. They need to be charged. The bills that are in there now, they are turning down, but we stand a better chance in these next 4 years than we ever had. So we need to hold them accountable now. We need to hold them accountable now. I even wrote a bill for expungements for convicted felons. Do you think any of them would push it? No. They need to be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. They will be dealt with. We got another speaker real quick, Bakura. She's with First Alliance Consulting Group, and Bakura's got a story to tell.
Thank you all for coming today, and I'm going to be really brief so everybody else can speak. I am a victim of the system. I'm a mother of 4 children. I have been arrested. My property has been taken. I have done time for charges I did not commit, but I've been at that General Assembly building every year for 20 years with open charges. Can nobody keep making excuses for not showing up and expressing your concern before that General Assembly? The Senate and the House Courts of Justice, both of them have only one black person on each committee. Who you think gonna represent us if we ain't coming in there? And people ain't running. What we gonna do? We gonna continue to get more of the same. So I'm here to encourage you to rally in your neighborhoods, to get people to come out and not only run for office, but to hold these people accountable and don't go home until we get what we want. Not mass incarceration. We say jobs and education.
Peace, jobs, and education, end mass incarceration. Peace, jobs, and education, end mass incarceration. Peace, jobs, and education, end mass incarceration. Peace, jobs, and education.
education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education, not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education. 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 Money for jobs and education.
Not for mass incarceration.
Money for jobs and education.